We don't even know if we can.
The insurance company would have to say yay or nay.
Right, gotcha. Right.
The recorder is on.
What's that? Right. I'd like to bring this meeting of the Lisbon Town Council, February 16th, to order. Please join me for the pledge. Pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Twyla.
Counselor Albert,
Here.
Counselor Colby,
Here.
Counselor Ward,
Here.
Counselor McTevier has been excused, Counselor Bickford,
Here.
Counselor Crafts,
Here.
and Counselor Brunel.
Here.
Next item.
Good news and recognition.
I got one. You knew it. Last Friday, the Lisbon High School participated in the School Spirit Challenge against Gray New Gloucester. It was all the students and the faculty had to actually be at the school by 5:30, 5:45. They were streaming live on Channel 6 for a better part of 2 hours. It was extremely cool event to actually see go. And at the same time, it was Tracy Austin trying to push the Strike Out Against Hunger campaign. That's going extremely well. That should be wrapped up in the next week or so to hear the final results and see how we did against Gray New Gloucester. But it was an excellent thing to see in our high school.
You have something, Ross?
May I add something?
Yeah.
Good evening, Ross Cunningham with Positive Change Lisbon. I'd just like to thank the Lisbon Dare Department and the Federal Credit Union for sponsoring our Valentine's Dance this Saturday night, and MTM for co-hosting that. We had 200 people in the MTM gym, and girls and their daddies had a great night. So I just wanted to thank you guys for our support. Thank you.
Thank you.
I can second that and say I attended. It was a fantastic event, and every year they do a great job, and thank you for that.
Next item, Twyla.
Is a public hearing for the pawn shop license, Double Diamond Pawn.
Anybody? I'll open a public hearing. Anybody to speak? No, close public hearing. Next item.
Is a special entertainment permit for the Railroad Restaurant and Pub.
I'll open a public hearing. Anybody to speak? Close public hearing. Next item.
Is it consolidating voting locations and districts for all state elections.
Open a public hearing. Anybody speak? Close public hearing. Next item.
Is audience participation and response for agenda items.
Don Fellows from the Lisbon side of things and a planning board member. Somewhere down the list, you're going to have item 2016-38, which is Route 9 zoning change consideration. And part of your packet, as you know, is a letter that Dennis wrote that has in there that there's a request for a permit on Route 9 for auto sales. That's, I just wanted to, at this point, give some background on the Route 9 for those who may not know it all. I don't know it all, but I know some of it. And back in 2011, our comprehensive plan was amended, and I'll go through hopefully no more than 2-minute version of what's going on here. In 2011, Mr. Potvin, then the current chairman of the planning board, held that the people who had spoken for years about any hearings that they had held on Route 9, spoke against having commercial activity on Route 9. So at that point, the planning board approved an amendment to the comp plan and sent it to the town council. That amendment was first brought up as a first reading on March 15th, 2011 to the council, back when Mark Lunt was chair. Mr. Eldridge presented some of the information to the council, and one of his statements was these changes, including zoning changes in some areas along Route 9, the comprehensive plan had wanted Route 9 to become a commercial area with new turnpike access at Sabatis. Many residents along Route 9 did not want to see that happen, so the changes were made to accommodate limiting the development and retaining a more residential and rural look. That's not quite totally accurate of how it happened. However, in 2011, April 19th, the town council entertained it as a second reading. The first amendment to that on the second reading was the area that concerned Route 9. And it's probably the most accurate statement in here, the whole thing. It says in 2007 plan, as adopted, included 2 commercial nodes or areas on Route 9. Those were located at the Lisbon town line, Lisbon-Sabatis town line, and the other one at the intersection of Upland Road and Route 9. And it had been felt that after numerous discussions that the commercial development should be more limited to Route 196. The comprehensive plan was then amended at that point at the second reading so that those 2 nodes were eliminated. And so the whole rest of the corridor turned out to be rural open space 1 and limited rural residential. The point of that was that the feeling was, at least at that time, that there would not be commercial development. But all along, the comprehensive plan has emphasized that there may be pressure for commercial development along Route 9. So it's not saying that there would never be any. That's why those 2 nodes were put there. They were eliminated on the current thinking that there wouldn't be any development. However, the plan does still make the point that commercial development, however it's developed, should avoid sprawl. And that, in that case, that's the consideration that the planning board feels, that if there is any consideration of changes on Route 9, it should not be an instantaneous thing. It should be a well thought through. For those of you who've been here before, you know that back in 2012, there was considerable controversy over what went on Route 9, and there was an adoption of expanded home occupations along that area. So any consideration that it is given, I'm not speaking totally for the planning board, I'm speaking for me, saying that we think that we should, I think that we should spend considerable time thinking about it rather than just put it as part of the action that we're going to do in the next 2 months. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Karen Paradise from Lisbon and chair of the planning board. And based on what Don has, the information he has given you, and based on our comprehensive plan, the Route 9 district is to be considered residential. And as much as we want to feel for any property owner along Route 9 and their ability to perhaps develop and do other items or other avenues with their property, we do feel that it's a complicated issue. And we do, as the planning board, we have a very full schedule, and changing the zoning along Route 9 would involve changing the comprehensive plan, which does involve state approval, as well as then public hearings with the planning board, as well as then presented to the town council and public hearings for the town council. So as Dawn mentioned, it's not something that needs to be or should be considered a quick resolution to one property owner or a few property owners along a very, large district and a large portion of the town. So, thank you.
Anybody else?
My name is Jim Carville.
Thank you.
I'm here tonight
Thank you, Ms. Carvel.
to talk about the itinerant vendor ordinance fees. And my wife Paulette, she'll be handing out the information. I emailed everybody, I don't know if you got to see it or not, but this is a copy of what I sent, except for the last page. The first page is a comparison that I've called all other towns that I could find that had flea markets, both indoor and outdoor. If you look at the column under fees, there are many that say no fees. Most of those, all but one, are the outdoor flea markets. The town does not charge them any fees at all. Even some indoor, they do not charge fees. The ones that do have fees, they do not have any in their town. This was handed out last year. I've added to it Topsom and Mechanic Falls. Mechanic Falls has a very large indoor flea market called the Willows. I don't know if some of you might have heard about it. That's an indoor market, and they have no fees whatsoever, according to the town. So I also handed out last year why there was a fee. And it started back in 1996 when there was a dispute over shrimpers fighting over property down at the Sabattis Bridge. Who could have this spot, who couldn't. And that was the whole reason to start this itinerant licensing. And they added the flea market for what I figure no real reason. The problem was the bickering down at the Sabattis Bridge. There was no bickering at my place. I ran it for over 10 years when they came out with this in 1996, when they started charging fees. I've checked with, like I said, other towns. Many of them never heard of the itinerant mass gathering. And I explained before that the mass gathering, according to the state, doesn't apply. And I gave the details of it. I explained that last year, and the fee last year went from $100 to $400, which is a considerable hike. I asked why. I got the details of the meeting that they had back in July of, I think it was 2014, and nothing was mentioned. I could not get any information on why the large increase. Also, I mentioned to the other council that the town council has the power to adjust the fees as they see fit. When I showed them that all these other towns didn't have any fees, they still went with the $400 fee. I see in this proposed itinerant ordinance, which is the 2016-32, this will be the first reading. It is changed to remove mass gathering, which that's understandable, it doesn't fit, and added flea market, and reduced the fee from $400 to $200. This is a step in the right direction, but the fee is still 100% over 2014's fee of $100. Should there be two fees, one for indoor flea markets and one for outdoor flea markets? That would be my recommendation based upon what I found in the rest of Maine. The outdoor flea markets normally run mid-April to mid-October, which is approximately 6 months. And they're only open on weekends and on good days only, which figures out to be about 60 days they're open. Where an indoor flea market is open year-round, which equates to about 156 days. Big difference between indoor and outdoor as far as number of days. I look also on this, and they showed that junkyards are only being charged $100, which they're open 6 days a week, which is 312 days. If there's any correlation between days, things don't add up. I did pay the $400 fee reluctantly, and if, let me see, this should pay my permit fees for the next 3 years, provided it is reduced to the $100 fee. But bottom line is, should it be reduced to $100 fee, or possibly to no fee to coincide with other outdoor flea markets in the state of Maine? So that's where I'm at, and I spoke last year and again this year. Hopefully people will understand the issue. Thank you.
I'm Rick Mason, Route 9. Concerning the Order 38, Route 9 zoning, I've lived on Route 9 for 58 years, all my life. And when I was a little boy, you could practically take a nap on that road. Hardly any cars on it. The trees hung over the road. It was a very nice road. It was a country lane 50 years ago. But in the last several years, there's been a major change up there. They've cut the trees all back. It's wide open. Come up to my house on a Sunday afternoon and watch the Daytona 500. They fly by there. It's not what it used to be. I think Route 9 needs to have some limited commercial activity up there. I'm looking to open a used car business along with my excavation to help supplement my income. And I just think it needs to be looked at. And that's all I got to say. It's different up there now. Again, come on up for Sunday lunch and watch the car shows. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Seems to be a trend tonight. Fern La Rochelle, Lisbon Falls. Chair and Council, thank you for the opportunity. My response is to the potential looking at the retirement of on the police force that we had the workshop the other night I attended. As a citizen, I would like to actually recommend the idea that if this goes forward, which it did sound like a pretty good opportunity, if there is a money savings to the community by doing so, and the idea of potentially bringing on another police officer actually as a plural officer, I mean a patrol officer to actually help the community out if there can be monies worked that way, but that'd be great. But I do hopefully you consider it because it does seem like a great opportunity for the town to be able to use money that's already allocated to actually get more policing on the streets. Thank you.
Anybody else? Seeing none, next item, Twyla.
Under the consent agenda, any counselor wishing to have any item removed may do so now. Seeing none, Order 2016-29 to approve the minutes of January 19, 2016, February 2, 2016, a pawn shop license for Daniel Miller doing business as Double Diamond Pond, and a liquor license and special entertainment permit for the Railroad Restaurant and Pub.
Need a motion?
I'll make that motion.
A second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? None? All in favor?
All opposed? Order passed, 6-0. Next item would
Oh,
be
next item, Twyla.
under council orders, resolutions, and ordinances, Order 2016-30, Positive Change Lisbon's request.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for having me here today. My name is Ross Cunningham with Positive Change Lisbon, currently the secretary. Stopping by to talk about our outdoor events that we hold throughout the community throughout the year. As you know, we've been doing this for 7 or 8 years now. I think this is our 8th summer concert series. Very excited. It is our 5th year holding a Moxie concert. What started as just sort of a brainchild to add a concert to Saturday night of Moxie Festival has ballooned into something that is really quite impressive. Last year we had close to 2,000 people in MTM Park, and it really is not only providing us a great opportunity to get together as a community, but at this point we're confident it is attracting a lot of folks from outside of our community to come see Lisbon for the day. Whether you're here for Moxie or not, we believe folks are coming in just for the concert. So we're really excited about that, and we'd like to continue to grow that. One of the common things that's done throughout the state at concerts like this is some sort of alcoholic beverage tent, beer garden, or something. Other communities are doing it. I know that several of my communities up in Augusta where I work are doing it on a regular basis, and it's something that is very, very common. Our town ordinance currently does not allow for that. So I was here to talk to you tonight about potentially requesting a change to that ordinance. I do see that there's a suggestion further down the agenda issue tonight, but I want to talk to that real briefly. As PCL, we have always done our best to try to do everything by the book. So we are not asking for any short favors, any corners cut, but I'd like to open a discussion as to how we can potentially have a safe environment for a beer garden at the Moxie concert, at the same time provide an ordinance that allows for other nonprofits or potentially individuals, and I know that Mark Stevens is now in charge of Beaver Park and has some big plans out there, and I know that having a wedding out there would be tough to do if you couldn't have any alcohol. So I don't know if that's on Mark's agenda. I don't speak for Mark, but I think as a council, revising that ordinance to a point where individuals or nonprofits could come to you and request a permit, a one-time deal for an event, to allow for a controlled alcohol environment, not alcoholics, I hope, but some sort of thing. And I'd like to have a conversation about what do we need to do, insurance, police force, hired security, whatever it is the council feels is appropriate. PCL would like to look into that and see if we can make that happen this summer. So I throw that out to you. I'm happy to take any questions you may have on this, or sit down and just listen.
I got one question.
Oh, sure.
I've been to some of them, and you go in, you buy a beverage, but there's a area that you can't, like if it was at the MTM, you couldn't walk all over the MTM.
That would be our goal as PCL. I can't speak to other organizations that would want to do that. The other catch to that is if you allow folks to go in and buy beer and then walk outside of that area, it then infringes on our insurance policy as opposed to the vendor's policy. So we would be very firm as to you would go into a consumption area and stay in that roped off area and enjoy the concert from there. And that's that. You don't walk out with a beer in your hand.
Yeah. Okay. That's all I've got. Anybody else?
Yeah, I do. I have a quick one. Just kind of along that same line. I think there are plenty of, I know you said PCL's interested in looking at that, and I'm sure, knowing you, you'll do the due diligence necessary for this. There are some great examples down in the Portland region. They do concerts in Monument Square.
Right.
The same, and they erect beer gardens along a stage front that they put right up there in Monument Square. So that might be a good starting point. I know that's something it's a very well-controlled environment. It might offer some good tips to at least get things rolling in the right direction.
And just for the record, we're doing the same thing in Augusta with a summer concert this year. We're doing a beer garden and working with the vendor and the insurance companies to do the same thing up there. So,
Okay.
all right.
Anybody else?
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next item, Twyla.
Order 2016-31, an application to change the physical location of our voting place.
Okay.
I just wanted to let you know that I spoke with Julie Flynn at the Secretary of State's office, and she mentioned to me that Lisbon would need to make its decision by March 16th if we wanted to consolidate for this June primary election. We have satisfied the public hearing requirement tonight, Mrs. Flynn asked if we were planning to consolidate to one voting place, but leave the 2 voting wards separated in the same building. And this was the only option I thought that we had until she spoke about that consolidating the voting districts would make a difference as well. She explained that Lisbon could consolidate its 2 voting wards for state elections since the state ballots today are essentially the same. In years past, they were not. However, today we have 1 House representative for all of Lisbon and 1 senator that represents all of Lisbon. This means Lisbon will report only 1 total at the end of the night, making it more efficient and faster to tally those state ballots as well. Tonight I'm suggesting the council consider consolidating polling locations and consider consolidating voting wards for state elections only. The central voting system will remain the same, with 2 voting wards representing our local Districts 1 and District 2 for local elections. So we can elect councilors at large and in our District 1 and 2, as usual. For Augusta, this means less work prior to the primary election as well. The Secretary of State's office needs to know as soon as possible because they are trying to determine how many accessible voting systems that we will need to use, and they're purchasing those now and deploying them. So once we file our application and the polling place survey, Mrs. Flynn indicated that her office will work with us to develop a polling place plan for setting it up that's acceptable to them. It looks like this is a win-win situation, and we can potentially save money and time election night. So the recommendation is if you are able to make a motion, you would make that motion to approve the applications to move the voting places currently located at Central Office, 19 Gartley Street in Lisbon, and MTM Community Center, 19 School Street in Lisbon Falls, to the Lisbon High School Gymnasium at 2 Sug Drive in Lisbon Falls, and to consolidate voting districts for all state elections.
Is there anybody else that wants to speak on this, did you say?
Yeah, I do. I know we were considering the consolidation, the consolidation of the voting area, but the consolidation of the wards for the state, it's not that I'm opposed to it, this is the first I'm hearing about it, so I guess that's something I want to understand a little bit better.
Yes, and we want to make sure that the council does too, because it would need to be a part of your motion if you're going to do that.
Absolutely.
We see the biggest potential for savings in that part of the consolidation. When we were first looking at this, we thought we would make 1/2 of the Gym Ward 1 and 1/2 of the Gym Ward 2. But today, because our state ballots are the same, the state would have us put a table together, A to K, and a table together, L to Z. And when you came to the table to vote, you would receive your state ballot, and then the election clerk who's handing out your ballot would be told which local ballot you would get. And so she would repeat your name, and then she would say, you are getting a District 1 ballot, and hand you that local District 1 ballot.
Okay.
And then we're going to ask the voter to repeat the title at the top to ensure they receive the correct ballot. She said that's the best procedure that they've used in many other towns, and that's worked the best.
Seems to me that it would eliminate the confusion which ward you're actually in. A lot of people don't understand that process. So.
She said when you're moving to a new location, you'll have half of the people going to the wrong side of
Yep.
the building.
It
the wrong
happened
side
in
of
November, and I'm sure it happens every November, but
It won't happen in Lisbon if we consolidate our voting districts, because A to
Yep.
C or
Be
A to
one
K
table.
is one place.
one table. Now, you mentioned in that too, bringing down the number of machines. How did,
She said that we would have an accessible voting machine for Ward 1 and an accessible one for Ward 2. But since we are going to consolidate those 2 wards, we would just get 1 accessible voting machine for our town
Okay.
of Lisbon. So that's a savings to the state as well.
and I'm sure it's probably easier for you to, staffing-wise as well.
Yes, it is.
It's probably no easy task to get those staffed as well.
Exactly. It saves on testing time and everything else.
Training
setup
and
training.
rolling it, yeah.
So state elections only, anytime we have local referendums, still be doing them in the same space with the process that you had outlined earlier on, is that right?
Yes. When you're doing a school election, for instance, and you just have a school referendum ballot, we would end up with 8 less election clerks, for instance, because we would just be combining everything into one, because it's a local election, but it doesn't have a different ballot in each end of town.
Right.
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
You have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
6-0, no opposed. Order passed.
Next item, Paul.
Order 2016-32, an itinerant vendor ordinance and fee schedule amendment. This is the first reading. Roll call vote is required.
So on page 51 of your agenda packet, what we did was we crossed out mass gatherings, and we added flea markets, and then we defined what a flea market is. Just so the public knows, it says, for the purposes of this section, flea market shall mean an occasional or periodic market held in an open area or within a structure where property owners offer space for charge to individuals, groups, to sell goods for sale to the public, and the event is held more than 7 days in a 12-month period. So what we did was we crossed out the mass gatherings, added carnivals and festivals, left that at the 200, and then for a 1 week. Under 12-month, we crossed out mass gathering and added flea market and changed the amount from 400 to 200. Back in 2014 is when the fee structure was changed. It was before I came here. It was actually voted on after I got here, but it went through the process before I came here, so I don't really have the historical knowledge on it. All I can tell you is the 12-month mass gathering permit at that time was $125, and then it went up to $400. So we're proposing to drop it down to 200. But I did like Mr. Carvel's idea of maybe having a different fee for an outdoor flea market versus an indoor flea market. That is, I like that idea, actually.
You think we ought to table this and write that in, or just
Well, no,
amend it?
you
It'd be
can,
covered in the first reading, right?
you can cover it in the first reading, and then, I'll have it fixed for the second reading, but
Okay.
I do like that idea. And probably what you'd want to do is maybe drop it down to 100, keep the indoor at 200, but maybe have the outdoor at 100.
I think
like
that's
that.
where I was leading as well.
My question was, what was the intent with the mass gathering permit at all, just to strike it out? Does that still have relevance, and maybe as a separate category?
I think you cover it by defining carnivals and festivals, because really mass gathering wasn't defined. It didn't have a definition in here. So the only thing that we could think of that it affected would be your carnivals and festivals, and then your flea market.
But
It's really an itinerant vendor ordinance, but I don't know why they put mass gathering.
I mean, timing is such, listening to Ross associated with that, is that if we were to go with his idea associated with somebody coming in to entertain a beer garden or a festival, you could actually cover that under a mass gathering and actually have that make sense for items other than the one that's out there for Positive Change Lisbon, because I know that's an extension of
It's a Moxie Festival.
Moxie Festival kind of thing that we're involved with. But if you had somebody that was willing to entertain that and met the criteria, it would actually relate under a mass gathering permit. So I would
So you,
make it a separate category in of itself and maybe define what a mass gathering would
see, I was
cover.
just going to say, if we put
Yeah.
that back in, we really need to define it, because
Yeah.
there's no definition now
I
for
agree,
mass
but I just,
gathering.
wheels are turning with what Ross presented. I think that if that has legs, that
So we
would be
have-
that where that would be grabbed.
So you want to leave the carnivals and festivals the way it is, and then have a separate category called mass gathering, and try to figure out what a definition.
And we can flesh that out at a later date for sure, but I think the bigger part would be the 200, 100 that you express for the indoor-outdoor flea markets.
Okay. Yeah.
When you're looking at mass gatherings, think of it as population. So when you consider as far as going through a mass gathering permit and fee structure, look at it as how many people are going to be there. And that can kind of help define it a little bit better for you.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I just, if anything goes forward with this topic, it would be covered under that if it weren't in the umbrella of the Moxie Festival for somebody else to entertain it. Then you're, okay, you know you got your insurance, you know you got your the biggest piece is gonna be covered underneath that permitting process to get that
Right.
permit.
What do we do to fix that?
Well,
Just have the same,
I'm just wondering, so that you won't have to have another first reading if this is a substantial change to do the mass gathering and do a definition where we'd have to do another first reading and publish the public hearing again? What do you think?
It may take a little time to do.
I think doing the
Definition.
other change is gonna be fine, but to do a definition for mass gathering, that should come back at a later date.
Let's do it that way then.
And take some time and do it right.
Yeah, but I just,
So just to clarify then, that we're striking the mass gathering piece from this. We'll just
Yeah,
move
for
forward
n-
with
for
everything
now,
as
yeah.
defined, and then we'll revisit, we'll come back to the mass gathering at a later date.
right,
You can put a number to that down the road, mass gathering 500 and more,
Right.
or...
yeah. However it needs,
So you can-
whoever makes sense to quantify it.
Works.
So you have
You need from us what?
I think it's an amendment for an indoor flea market category of 200 and an outdoor flea market category of 100, correct?
Right.
Okay.
So your recommendation should be amend Chapter 10 Business Article for itinerant vendors and Appendix C fee schedule as outlined and schedule a public hearing on March 1st, 2016.
can I have a motion on that?
Absolutely.
That,
Absolutely. What she said.
All in favor?
do you have a second?
I'll
Oh,
second it.
no, there it is.
Okay.
There we go. All night
All
tonight.
right.
All in favor?
Any toes?
Right.
Order passed 6-0, no opposed.
Put a lot of thought into these recommendations before the packet goes out, so I don't miss anything the night of it.
No. And it was, we worked it well. The fact is that just trying to get the concept of what the mass gathering was to start and discussing later, by all means.
Next item, Twyla.
Article 2016-33, the Park Regulation Ordinance Amendment. First reading, roll call vote required. Hold up, we have to back up.
You need a roll call.
Because we needed a
vote.
roll call vote for that instead of just a raise of hands.
Oh, okay.
So,
Roll call.
Counselor Albert,
Yay.
Counselor Bickford,
Yes.
Counselor Crafts,
Yes.
Counselor Ward,
Yes.
Counselor McTevier is not here, Counselor Brunel,
Yes.
and Counselor Kovic.
Yes.
So it's still 6 yeas, 0 nays. Order has still passed. So we're on to the Park Regulations Ordinance Amendment for the first reading.
So on page 58 and 59 of your packet, it's under section 30-88.5, special regulations, we added the language under C. Any exception to this rule must be approved in advance by the town council and shall be limited to special public events or public gatherings sponsored by a charitable, nonprofit organization or civic group in which alcohol is served by a licensed establishment with an off-premises catering license under Title 28A MRSA subsection 1052. I think before we extend that to anything other than than what we're doing here for Moxie, I want to check with our insurance to make sure
Absolutely.
that, I think there could be some liability, but I want to check first. So this is really covering what's going to happen.
The intent of what was actually presented tonight.
Exactly. I think this gets the ball rolling for what Ross wants to do for this coming summer.
On that same,
But anything like for events out at Beaver Park, for weddings, I just want to, we need to think about that before
Well,
we.
yeah, I think we want to look at it and understand what the private, if it's a private entity that's going to hold something out there, we just want to understand if we want to go down that road,
Right.
that we have adequate commitment coverage by that private entity, that they would have the insurance to take the ownership
They would
of
have
life.
to, yeah,
Exactly.
because of the liquor, and then you've got to figure out how you're going to, because there's going to be members of the public out there and kids, and
Yeah, I think
how
that,
are we going to do that?
where do we pick an area? Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
lot to think about,
Yeah.
for sure.
the other one that caught my attention on this is F, just below that. No peddling, soliciting, or commercial enterprise is permitted to conduct business on Beaver Park property. I'm trying to figure out what the intent associated with that was, because I used, Positive Change Lisbon and the rec department's recent Winterfest out there. That would have been a perfect example for something of a food truck or of that nature, but it's totally excluded here.
Even-
So consideration to making that change as well.
Even the boosters. Hey, if we
Anybody.
think about, if we
We've
think
had-
about ways to fund programs that we have, the boosters, I know there's a dedicated group that go out for the football games, soccer games, and any event that was held with the recreation department. Traditionally, those families and children are all part of the same groups. So an opportunity for the boosters to raise some money at events out at Beaver Park. We don't want to miss an opportunity to help them out when we can.
Right.
Same thing with, if we decide to put, let's say, small tent camps, tent camping in there.
Right.
There might be, with the kids and stuff, we might want an ice cream truck come up in there. So,
Just, I don't understand obviously it was an intent there. It might have been insurance related, but trying to find out what it is to explore if
know.
it still relates at this point. I'm
So
cool
we
with,
could come
I'm
back
cool with
to
this.
that
Yeah,
one.
exactly. That's future following up with what we've talked about tonight, but I'm okay with the content as written here.
Ellen,
Okay, so the recommendation is to amend Article 3, Park Regulation Ordinance as outlined, and schedule a public hearing on March 1st, 2016.
do I have a motion?
Somebody else want to join the party?
I'll make that motion. Almost beat me
Second.
again.
Need a second?
Second.
Roll call? Or we just all, that all,
Yep.
It is a roll call.
okay.
Counselor Kobe?
Yes.
Counselor Brunel?
Yes.
Counselor McTevier is not here. Counselor Ward?
Yes.
Counselor Crafts?
Yes.
Counselor Bickford?
Yes.
And Counselor Albert.
Yes.
We have 6 yeas, 0 nays. Order passed.
Next item, part 12.
Order 2016-34 to repeal Chapter 2, Article 4, Division 10, Trail Commission. This is a first reading, also requires a roll call vote.
Again, this is to clean up the Trail Commission. Back before Verler retired, she was working on this, because now that we have the Androscoggin River Trail done, what we were going to do is combine the trail with the Conservation Commission, or actually put it under the Conservation Commission, but we never actually came to council to repeal the Trail Commission. So that's what we're asking you to do tonight, and then later on, you're going to appoint Conservation Commission members.
On page 41.
On page 40, thank you, Chris. There's really no need for the Trail Commission now. I mean, it should all fall underneath the Conservation.
They're all going to fall under the council.
Yeah.
It's fine. 6-1 might have.
But we need to repeal it.
Understood.
So the recommendation is to repeal Division 10 Trail Commission and all references to the Trail Commission and schedule a public hearing on March 1st, 2016.
I need a motion.
I make that motion. Seems like house cleaning just needs to be done.
Yep.
Second.
Order made and seconded.
Roll call?
Ready for a roll call. Counselor Ward?
Yes.
Counselor Crafts?
Yes.
Counselor Brunel?
Yes.
Counselor Kobe?
Yes.
Counselor Bickford?
Yes.
And Counselor Albert.
Yes.
We have 6 yeas, 0 nays. Order passed.
Next item, Paula.
Order 2016-35, add cemetery and library fees to Appendix C fee schedule.
These fees have already been approved and adopted by council. The cemetery fees have, and, but we have not added it to the fee schedule, and that's what we need to do now. And under library fees, we don't have an ordinance associated with the library fees, so they never got into the fee schedule. But so that we have one place that shows all the fees that we are charging, we're recommending that the library fees be added to the fee schedule. So what this is going to do, the recommendation is to amend Appendix C fee schedule to add a new section for cemetery and library fees as outlined.
Motion?
Make that motion.
Second?
Yeah.
Any discussion?
Where do we, I know we talked, just give me some of the background on perpetual care. It's,
According to the town's attorney, any money that we charge for cemetery fees has to go into perpetual care. We can't use it for any other reason.
which is
because
what the
state-
intent is anyways.
That's what the intent is, except for you're never gonna get enough to, and all you can do is use the interest.
Right.
The money, the actual principal stays there, not to be used, but you can use the interest. And I think the question at the time, when we were talking about this earlier, is that you would never get enough money to pay for the maintenance. Well, we're doing the maintenance now through the.
Right, you're obligated to be able to do it, so this is just
Right.
defraying some of that
Yeah.
cost that
Yeah.
the town's incurring.
But
Okay.
we can't, it has to go into perpetual care.
Agreed, agreed. I just, getting the rest of the story, I know it was talked about, but what the intent was. That's it.
All in favor?
6 in favor, any opposed? Motion carries. This is an amendment to the fee schedule, not like an ordinance, so it wouldn't need a roll call vote.
Next item, Paula.
Order 2016-36, write-off personal property taxes.
These are two businesses. One went through bankruptcy and the other one is dissolved, and there's no way to collect on these old personal property taxes. The bankruptcy is, it's uncollectible due to bankruptcy, and the other one has been dissolved, so there would not be any way to go after anybody on that. So we just need to get them off the books. So the recommendation is to write off personal property taxes to include principal and interest as of February 16th, 2016, in the amount of $5,718.25 for the taxes listed above. And one is Casa Mia, and the other one is T&A Variety and T&A Cafe.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
6 in favor, no opposed, order passed.
Next item, Paula.
Order 2016-37, animal shelter contract.
Last year, we entered into a contract with the Coastal Humane Society that started in January, and it went for a whole year. I just contacted them recently to renew the contract, and what they want to do is do a 6-month contract that will get us on our fiscal year and then go annually thereafter. The fee hasn't changed. It's the same amount, same contract. It's just the terms go for 6 months, and then I'll get another contract later on before year ends that will go for a year. So the recommendation is to authorize the town manager to sign the renewal agreement effective January 1st, 2016 through June 30th, 2016 with the Coastal Humane Society. And we've been very happy with the service they've provided us.
Need a motion to accept the Coastal Humane Society bid?
I'll make that motion.
Second. All in favor?
6 in favor, no opposed, order passed, 6-0.
Next item, Paula.
Order 2016-38, Route 9 zone change.
Okay, I've got a few things I'd like to say about this. This is mainly to the planning board. Is there a way to look at a possibility for Mr. Mason to have a car dealership at his house? Something to do with, I don't know, there's some act at Homestead,
Well, current zoning allows home occupations along that area. And home occupation specifically addresses auto body shops and auto repair facilities and things like that. it also specifically says auto sales is not a home occupation. So that's a change in an ordinance if that were to happen. Even if it does fit under home occupations is quite restrictive on signage, meaning there isn't a lot, I mean, it's little signage, and on parking, and particularly on display of your business. So I'm not sure home occupations would fit. So your answer, the answer that I would have to you, there's no easy answer to that.
Right. Okay, then I'm gonna ask one more thing. Since I've been on council, it seems like every year there's something about Route 9. And the new, road, and I can remember Fern doing the same thing. You go across the town line, and there's all kinds of businesses in Sabatis. They're taking advantage of the new road. So I don't know if this will work, but I am gonna bring it forward. It looks like that we really can't do anything for Rick right now, but I am gonna bring it forward to the planning board that you look into, when I know it's gonna be a comp plan change and everything, but from Wing Street to the Sabatis line, 200 feet to 300 feet, both sides can be commercial. It's probably gonna mean a comp plan design change. I'd just like to have it looked into with, and there's gonna be a different tax rate, but I think we could grandfather the people that don't want commercial or never are living in here and never wanted to have commercial. We can leave them as residential. And if a resident wants to have a little tractor shop, lawnmower shop, whatever it is, and he goes commercial, that once it goes commercial, it can never come back. And I was just wondering if I know, believe me, going to your things, I know what you're up against. I really do. But, as an outgoing counselor, and coming in, we've been fighting about this all for like 6 years or more. And it's time to get it settled, because this is we need business. And when somebody makes an opportunity, and the comp plan does say, there's gonna be a way of getting it. So you've got to try to do something, I think, on this corridor. Because I'm an old farmer, but farming is not gonna be there. The farms are there and that's it. I mean, I hate to see some of the property up there, what could be made. So I would just like to please have you do it. And Rick, have you got any other things to say? Yep.
I'm not looking to open up an O'Connor's up there at all. I just want to do a limited, so many cars. It's not going to be a John D. Crafts. It's just something to supplement my income as I get older. And, I have the facility. I have my excavation business there. I have I have everything I need as far as the state concerned to get dealer plates. I don't have the zoning. And I just think, I think we need to progress like the road has.
I'll try this year to see what I can do.
And no offense to Chief Brooks about Daytona 500 up there, because when his offices are there, things are happening, but it does get out of control sometimes.
Yep, okay.
Used to hear it all the time when your wife said it.
Something to say, Don?
And I know I'm speaking for Karen as well. It's not that the planning board's opposed to this.
Oh, I understand.
It's not at all that. It's the planning board is interested in what the town is interested in. And as hard as that is to say, not one owner. We're interested in what the town wants. And I think it would be appropriate, the town is represented right here, it would be appropriate if the board wants us to consider it to do that. So it would be nice if we had a consensus or some sort of informal thing. I don't know what everybody else thinks.
Yeah.
So
Can we get a consensus? consensus?
My only issue with is if you're starting to grandfather and getting into all of that, things get sticky. And I mean, I'm not opposed to businesses coming in because I agree with you. We do need businesses, but I think the way that you're addressing, I don't think that's
Basically, the grandfathers is if it was a business there, and
right. But then you're getting into where you're saying if you want to have a business, then you can be commercial, but everybody else who doesn't can be grandfathered. But then when, say that business closes and that person sells their house, then they're paying at a different zone than their neighbor.
yeah, that was just,
And-
that's something to be hashed out. That's basically,
I mean, if you're going to do it, I think you just do it all right across the board or don't do it at all.
Any opportunity to encourage business in Lisbon, I'm a big fan of. I understand it's not at a large scale, and I can appreciate that. But I think starting somewhere, this metered growth, this might be exactly what we're looking for in that corridor. I'm not going to jump in both feet, but I'm going to say I think a small test case is a good place to start. And I realize when I say test case, you're doing one, so it opens up for everything down the line. But I think looking at Sabattis, once you cross the line and look across there, I can think right by that 95 on in Sabattis, there's a dealership right there. And that's not even that far up the road from where we are. So that could lead to other businesses saying, you know, it's a main artery. If I place my business here, that could be something that is appealing to customers, and or I could place my business here because I have easy access to main arteries, and I get a favorable deal from the town of Lisbon to bring my business here. So while I realize that I think the planning board's spot on when they say, let's think about this and have slow metered growth with careful thought and consideration, I also want to encourage any person who wants to open a business, hang a shingle, and work in this community. So I think you're on to something there, Roger. I think we should certainly, I could see what you're saying. You want to have a consensus. I think that's not a half bad idea. I think we should talk about this and decide if we want to have the planning board look into this in a little bit more detail.
is that what you want, Don?
My issue's timing. The fact is, you guys had a great public workshop just 30 days ago in that regard, and I know that the question was asked, if there are any other areas in town, life is timing. I see the date of Dennis's obviously being after this, that would have been nice there, but yeah, I'm all for exploring options. I know that in a volatile corridor, if you will, the fact is that Mr. Morse and some of the others that actually took some pretty public heat associated with what they were doing, so not wanting to have that issue re-explored here locally either at the same time.
Could I just say one thing? Sure. The only thing that worries me, you know, Councilor Albert, is that when you say test case,
Yep.
is that it could be inferred as spot zoning.
Right. No, I
And
absolutely understand.
that's the only thing the planning board, I think, is a little concerned with. And again, we do have a full agenda and not trying to eliminate or make anything difficult for any of the residents in the town. And again,
Sure.
we want business to be incurred, you know, again, with the, you know, Dollar General, et cetera, you know,
Right.
we are trying to do. But I think we all need to look at whether we want two 196s in town.
Right.
Or whether we want one 196 and a Route 9, which is fairly residential, and according to the comp plan that is the goal of Route 9. But again, it is up to the council.
Thank you.
No, I still would like to have it explored. And I think there's a consensus of the council. How about you, Dale?
I agree with you. I do.
Chris?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Again, as Rick said, he's lived up there for 58 years. He's a taxpayer in this town. He runs a business. If he wants to put something on his property, he's going to pay the fees. He's going to do everything as he's supposed to. Again, I understand there's different parts of town you want different ways and this and that. But again, as a taxpayer, if I wanted to run a little business off the front of mine, whether I lived on 196 or I lived on Route 9, I think I should be given the opportunity, however big or small the hoops are, to get to where I want to be. So I'm all in favor of myself. Again, I think it should be to the residents who live up there more than other entities to decide on what we do with our property. That's my
What do your surrounding neighbors think, Rick?
Yeah. Have you talked to any of your neighbors, Rick? How do your neighbors feel about it? Because they live up there, we don't. You know, and if you know, again, if you're gonna visit this thing to open that up, it'd always be good to get from Upland Road all the way up to pass out some flyers and say, this is what I'm looking to do, and if you wanna have a little workshop or something about it, so that people in his own neighborhood can come down and voice their opinion.
Absolutely welcome the planning board. Yeah, I mean, I think
Absolutely.
you guys have done your due diligence up to this point, and I know that you're doing the best you can to make sure the town of Lisbon's best interests are met here. Yeah, jump in there, Don.
As volatile as that has been in the past, I think it's due diligence to look at it thoroughly. We do not want to do spot zoning. We can't do spot zoning.
No.
There's lots of possibilities, compromises. I drove it for the second time today, looking at it, just saying, okay, what can you do? What can you do? There's so much residential up there that those people that want to have their residential neighborhood have a right to. So there will be, like you said, hopefully a public information session as well as public hearing. We've been successful before in several other things that we did in having public information sessions, inviting just about anybody that wanted to come to have their say-so. Because typically when you have a hearing, the same people show up that showed up tonight, nobody. So that's what we want to, we would want to do that.
Would have to be maybe combined with the planning board and the town council or something like that to get more, you know, try anything. Okay?
Larry showed up. Don misspoke.
Anybody else? Okay. So,
What's needed?
yeah, what's needed, Twyla?
Yeah, you have already given them direction, is that?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Do you need a motion?
You know, it wouldn't hurt. Why don't you vote, and then I can send a note to them saying that the council voted at their meeting.
Motion to have the
To explore.
planning board to explore this topic.
Understood.
I need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Order passed, 6-0.
That's right. Make her money. Earn her money. Which she does anyway, so. Okay, next items, Twyla.
Order 2016-39, RFP authorization, cars 1 and 4.
Page 43 and 44 of your agenda packet summarizes what the chief is going to speak about tonight.
Good evening. You guys have the letter that I addressed. I'm going to run through that real quick, and then I'm expecting some questions definitely to come my way after that, because I tried to include as much as I could in the letter, but then again, try to keep it brief. So, requested to be here tonight, of course, to replace the chief's vehicle, which is car 1, and purchase car 4, which is kind of a replacement. We had a car 4 before, but we're looking at revisiting that. The apparatus does fall in line with the established apparatus refurbishment capital plan that was established in 2004. Therefore, the funding is project is already established, and it will be no impact to the taxpayers for these refurbishments or purchases. So, car 1. The chief's vehicle has been in the fleet of apparatus within the town of Lisbon since Chief Lamb was hired as the first career fire chief in the department in 1991. The first vehicle then was a used CMP truck with one of those old bubble lights on the top that was barely ran, and that lasted about 2 years. After that, the replacement was a used state policed SUV that lasted for approximately 8 years for us, but has been running around Brunswick now for since then, probably unstickerable, but anyway, that's what they have. Once Chief Lane was hired, he purchased the used Jeep Cherokee, which was the black vehicle. That was in service until 2005, when I replaced it with the Ford that we currently have now. In the truck replacement program, our goal was to replace that vehicle every 10 years. This was a good forecast. Last year, we put $1,500 into the front end of the vehicle in order for it to get a sticker. And then it was, next year is going to be kind of critical. So here we are. This year, when inspecting, the mechanics informed me that they could not sticker it without more work being done. At that point, we sent the vehicle to 2 garages in town for some second opinions. Those you have seen, one estimate's for $2,700 and one is for $2,500, which brings us up to the discussion of investing that kind of money into a 10-year-old vehicle, or honoring the truck committee forecast of replacing that vehicle every 10 years. With the replacement comes new or used, that discussion, and I would request new for the fact that of our history has proven that we don't get the years of service that we would like to out of a used vehicle. Sometimes we get a lucky 7 years, sometimes we get a 2 out of it. We've purchased 1 new vehicle, we've gotten 10 out of it, that's what we forecasted, that's worked. So do we want to have the car 1 discussion and then the car 4 discussion, or do you want me to go to car 4?
Both.
So I'll go to car 4. All right. We no longer have car 4 in service due to a political climate at the time the Jeep couldn't be stickered. We proposed to the council at the time that our options were, and they tabled that discussions, and we never revisited that subject until now. The use of car 4 within the department includes, but are not limited to, the duty officer vehicle on the weekend. Currently, the officers use their personal vehicles to enforce or follow up complaints that the fire department takes over the weekends when I'm off or just not deployable. Being a pickup, it would be used during the week as a utility by the per diem firefighters to haul trash to the dump, run errands, move equipment, etc. General use by the department would include hauling the water donation from the Poland Spring, which is a pallet of drinking water, hauling hose after fire, moving the fire prevention trailer and Marine 5, which is the boat, and transportation for members attending trainings. All of what I might add, again, is currently being done by personal vehicles or by Squad 3, which we have, which is a Ford F-450 heavy-duty utility forestry that we use, that there again, wear and tear on a first-line piece of equipment. The benefits of putting this vehicle back in service are long-term. Due to its limited use, it's a 15 or 20-year investment. The use of the town vehicle rids the members of using their personal vehicles for department purchases and saves wear and tear on existing trucks in the fleet like Squad 3. I would request a 3/4 ton pickup for the towing capacity with the fire prevention trailer, and also hauling hose and everything else that we haul around is also pretty heavy. The discussion being, if you choose to reinstate car 4, is whether new or used, and then urging caution on how long we are expecting the truck to last, of course, pending new or used. So I'm requesting that both at the same time, do that we may be able to get a reduced pricing if we purchase 2 vehicles at the same time. So there it is in a nutshell. So questions, concerns? None?
Always.
Seeing none, thank you very much.
Your car, what?
Car 1.
Car 1, what do you want?
I think something compatible with what the police department has right now. I don't need the full size, that mid-size SUV. All-wheel drive, police department comparable, I think it would be sufficient for now, to downsize a little bit.
That's the one that I would say that you probably need new. The other one, I would like car 4.
Yeah.
I would like you to maybe see Mr. Layton and go check with the state and see if you can get one of them Ford F-250s.
Right.
If you couldn't do that, or, whatever, and you wanted to go new, then I would recommend that you do the same thing that Mr. Layton has done. You do not, since it's a 3/4 ton you want, do not go with GM. They have a major problem with their front ends, and they have a major problem with their frames.
Yeah.
You've got four.
And writing that spec, I mean, that's something that, if that's a direction that
they can,
is
the
felt that we need
specs,
to go.
they'll meet the specs, but they won't last.
But they won't last.
You've got 4 other trucks now out there. You've got Dodge and
Right.
Ford, which are reputable, and you've got Toyota, and you've got Nissan.
Right. And the major thing
being
with
a staunch GM man all these years, I hate to swallow this and say this, but
and the big thing I think with car 4 that we're looking at, I mean, if we have to buy used, we're going to be finding used is basically what you can find that fits within your parameters.
Right.
I mean, if it's new, we're not looking. It's not going to be bells and whistles. It's going to be no
Right.
carpeting. It's going to be utility. It's going to be that workhorse type of.
But the way, if you could get like one of the Ford F-250s from the state,
Right.
it's the same thing that the town highway department, they know how to work on them.
Right.
So that could
Right.
be
having them in surplus within the town.
Right.
Is good, right.
Any other questions?
How old is the vehicle you're currently
10 years old, 2005.
He's not driving it right now because it needs X amount of money for a sticker.
I noticed that.
Does he intend to trade it? Yes.
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 Yes, or sell outright.
No, they sit. If you could, rather than having to sit around, I'd make the recommendation that have
We'll
it.
take whatever we can get for it.
Exactly, versus the bid process, which we're.
They sit. I mean, Ryan just went through a lawn sale sitting down to PW that he didn't get what he was looking for either, too, because the intention's there, but us micromanaging that occasion doesn't help your cause any.
It's easier to roll it into the deal, for sure. The car 4, I do have just a quick question about that. I know you kind of outlined some of the things that we'd be doing with it. Just, ballpark it for me. How often is that vehicle getting used?
3 times a week and
At best?
on the weekends.
Okay.
The per diems would use it pretty regularly.
Okay.
The duty officer would be using it every weekend.
So in theory, then, we could look in the used market. There's no sense of urgency around that. I realize that.
Right, that's
what-
been, we haven't had that since the Ford, since the Jeep didn't take a sticker before, and that kind of went on its way. And
How long ago was that?
that was 3 years, 3 or 4
4
years ago, maybe.
One thing, I just don't think it's right for the personnel to use their own personal trucks for that.
Well,
That's-
question I had on that is it you paying mileage, or is it just out of the benefit of their heart? If it's out of the benefit
When
of their
they
heart.
use it for, we had a system set up because we had that discussion saying, look, no more picking up when we have a fire in the middle of the winter time, right? Hose is frozen and everything else. So we're like, okay, run a pickup truck out here. We were Dana Adams was showing up with his $45,000 Durant, GM, beautiful, right? And you're like, that's not what we don't want to throw a hose over the side of that.
Right.
So that was a long discussion. We said, all right, so now we talked to Public Works. Yeah, we can go down there. We can get a truck at any time. We have the key to get in. We can go down there, acquire a truck if we need to, and everything else. But now, 3 in the morning, after we've been working for 4 or 5 hours and everything else, it's freezing cold out. Guys are like, yeah, they show up with their truck, and it's just the idea of it was just more work in order to go get that and everything. And they were good. We're still volunteer based. The guys are still good when it comes to, not a problem. If we ever did have a problem with something like if we dinged a coupling off of, paint or something like that, we would be good for it. Of course, we try to do everything we could for the member, but
Right.
so.
At 3 in the morning, the last thing they want to be doing is going around town to get a vehicle.
Right, and the duty officers themselves, them showing up, the deputies, their vehicles are set up, but, most of the time that people kind of know who their vehicles, who they are. But when a lieutenant or a captain shows up, he gets out of his vehicle, and they don't know that. They don't know who he is. At least showing up in a town vehicle, then they at least know, oh, oops, I'm not supposed to be burning, am I? Or something's going on.
Right.
They know why they're there. It's the fire department.
Right. Plus the towing capacity associated with towing your trailer around as well.
Correct, right.
Bring me up to speed. I know the funds are set aside. You put it in your letter associated with the 320, and that there's 185 available, 135 designated. What's the difference between the two, and what's the intent of this for somebody that's sitting here
As
for the
far
first-
as that line is concerned,
Yep.
we still
Bring
have,
bri-
we have truck 6 and engine 1 that'll be coming out of that. It's a capital plan. We put in the money into it every year.
Yep.
And this could fall within that program. It's apparatus. It falls within the apparatus. It's a resource within the town. So.
Okay. What is the 135 designated for? Other pieces already in the replacement schedule?
Correct.
That's the refurbishment.
The 135 is, so the 180 that we had left.
Right, I
No,
got
I put
got
that
you.
together, he didn't.
Okay.
So right now, the balance in the reserve account is 250,000, and then in our budget, we have 70,751 left that's not spent. Minus the designated, and that's the, everything
Two
that's
that just
going to
weren't.
Pierce, is it?
Pierce, right.
Pierce. There was, remember the 2
Yep.
refurbishments? That totals 135,000. So you subtract that from the other 2, and it leaves an available balance to be spent of 185.
Which would,
947.
whatever is not spent, we're not going to spend 185,000.
Right.
Right. But the intention to actually do
It,
when you
it'll
need it,
build
when you
towards
need it.
the other
Right.
vehicles, correct. if that program would have gone the way it was supposed to, we'd be up in the 500, 800,000 range. But of course, you know, the political climate was,
powers that they be.
well, you know, and that and the economical climate that we were in just wasn't, you know. We've done well at putting money, making sure that we have put money in there, and I'm happy with that.
So other than these two vehicles, do you foresee having to use or need any other repairs on anything else? I mean, I don't want to see it get...
Major repairs and refurbishment,
Framed.
no. The next truck that's gonna come up is actually Tank 9. And we're gonna have, that's the oldest truck in the fleet, and that's just the cabin chassis. We replaced the body on that 10, 12 years ago, maybe. What we're gonna look at doing, and that's a full discussion that our truck committee is actually gonna come up with, because Engine 2, Tank 9, and Engine 7 are all right around that area that time, that we may be able to come do another reduction and go after, do a 3-for-1 type situation. So, again, trying to save money, call volume and everything else. Our call volume's gone up, but our fires have gone down, right? So, which is a good thing, knock on wood. So we're able in that area, as far as a tanker concerned, to be able to save some money. The tanker replacement actually was supposed to be like 4 years ago, I think, on the plan. But it's running, it's making do, It's time to start thinking about it, but it won't be anywhere near. And then, of course, with this budget season coming up, if I'm fortunate enough to be able to get, you guys to put some money back in there, we'll be gaining towards that.
Okay.
So we're sitting okay where we're at.
Well, I've got, my recommendation would be that we supply you with a new car one, and then you look around, try to find something from the state or whatever, like,
Yep.
and if you find something that you need, then you can come back to us, either one way or the other, with a used one, or have something that's, and I don't mean a flashy thing, but
Well,
a new
and
truck,
that's not what
you know.
we're after. We're
Right.
after a utility. We're after something, a work,
That
a
way,
work truck.
instead of wasting a lot of time trying to find something used that doesn't fit, and why I'll go to the state, because the town's had good luck there.
Well, another option too is if he's going to look at new, they might be willing to work out a deal if he trades in the one that he's already using and get a used to the dealership, a 2-for-1 type deal.
Yeah, well, yeah,
They might, I mean,
Well, in shopping, I'm gonna have to spec out the new car one anyway.
yeah.
I can talk to the dealers that's going, is it worth, hey, we're also looking for this. Is it gonna be, will there be a cost difference or a price break for us? Is it worth us doing that or not worth us doing that?
You'd be lucky, I don't know, I'm not that good at this, but you'd be lucky, your old car one is probably only worth $500 at the most.
And that's, I mean, and if you're telling me right now.
It goes.
that It goes.
It
that
goes.
Hot Wheels
it.
is what
Yeah,
we
it goes.
used to call it.
Send
right?
it.
The way it
Yeah.
goes.
Send
so.
it.
And then in that regard, just there's another piece of fire apparatus that rides around the Beaver Park area.
There is.
So
It's fluorescent green.
yeah,
Um,
it goes. That's all.
Right. And there's a story behind that.
I know.
one,
I
too,
know.
which is
I know.
nice.
I know. They're always.
There always is.
Every story has a story.
At the end of the day, I think that's, you do your diligence and see what when you're shopping new for your vehicle, obviously the car 4 as well, you can see if they're willing to throw anything at you. It's reasonable in that sense, but I mean, you'll explore all options, whether it's a used vehicle or a new, but the idea is that you can come back in here, you'll have good luck, I'm sure, finding something with 1, but maybe 4, if you run into some issues with the used, we can always revisit what the other options might be down the line.
Prepared to put some specs together with you.
Yeah. So the recommendation should be to authorize the fire chief to solicit bids to replace car 1 with a new all-wheel drive SUV, because that's what he suggested, and to shop around for a used vehicle to replace car 4, preferably a 3/4 ton 4x4 pickup.
Yep.
Checking state surplus first and everything else.
Right.
And then hopefully we have an answer on that when we're actually solicited, have bids, be able to come back with a bid proposal to go, hey, I think this is where we want to go. Maybe be able to hit two birds with one stone. We'll see.
After you've checked on the surplus, I do trust you, that's why I'm saying this. Then if there's nothing out there, then you can put a bid proposal on a new one for car 4.
Well, it depends on how it's reading there, because the way she just read it, it's a used one.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, okay.
No, I think that's right. I think you're spot on. I think that's what the plan was used is the preference at this point. I think we all agree that that would be the way to go for car 4. But the idea is that if, like you had said, Roger, don't waste a ton of time if you can't find anything reasonable in the state surplus or other areas that you might explore that you know of. Then I think it's not a bad idea to, at least when you're getting your bids for 1, to throw 4 at those folks that you speak with, to say, hey, listen, tell me what you can do on 2, and then do on 1 as a standalone, and then just see what they come back at.
Right.
Doesn't hurt to have that information.
okay.
The necessity for your vehicle, though, was like yesterday. What is the necessity for the car 4?
The car 4 is, we haven't had it for 4 years now.
It's 3 years
so
old,
it's just, you know,
It's,
I-
it's,
Sooner
it's addressing
than
an
later.
issue.
right.
But it's not like
Right.
your vehicle. Okay.
Is that all right?
Yep, so I mentioned the motion. Does somebody want to?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Awesome.
Order passed 6-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item, Twyla.
Order 2016-40, the Durham dispatch contract.
And that's on page 103 of your packet. If you recall, we discussed the extension for 3 months per the request of Durham. So we put together just a one-page document that extends it till March 31st of 2016 with the new fee amounts that we discussed. And I just need authorization. I need you to approve the 3-month extension of the Durham contract at the new rates, and then authorize me to sign the agreement, and then I'll send it off to Durham. And for that, for their signature, and hopefully before long, we can find out if they'll do a full 3-year contract with us.
I have a question in regards to this. At what point are we going to stop doing extensions?
They told me this is their request, 3-month extension, so I don't expect it to go any further than the 3 months. I think we'll know by
One way or another.
right off
Okay.
if they're gonna, they didn't, I think what they wanted to do was shop around, and I think maybe they've done that.
Well, that was what my point was at what point do we finally say, here's the deal, it's either now or never?
Right.
This is no different than the language of the contract anyway, which is 90 days if they decided to end
Exactly.
anyway, right? I just want to make sure I'm understanding
Yep.
that. That was my interpretation of this, and so without them coming out and saying.
And we're not out anything, because we are doing it at the new rates, so.
Right.
I would think that by the end of March, if you did one more extension, that would be it, but I can't imagine, because they're doing their budget right now, they're on a calendar year budget, so. They're gonna need to make that decision right off.
Okay, I need a motion to recommend, give a 3-year contract.
I'll make that motion.
Month.
3 months.
I like the way you think, Roger, but I think it'd be a tough one for them to sign right now.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Order passed 6-0.
Next item, Twyla.
Order 2016-41, Perillo Street bid award.
Yep, we received one bid. It was opened at noon time on Thursday, February 11th. We received a bid from Fern La Rochelle and Nate Morse in the amount of $16,350. And the assessed value on that was $16,300, so that's a fair price. So the recommendation would be to award the bid for the purchase of town-owned property on Perillo Street, map U8, lot 001, in the amount of $16,350 from Fern La Rochelle and Nate Morse, and authorize the town manager to issue a quit claim deed as joint tenancy.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to accept.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I say we don't give it to him. I'm joking.
All in favor?
6-0, order passed.
Stone cold, Levin, stone cold.
Oh,
I had to, I'm sorry.
next item. Marla.
Order 2016-41A, a one-time retirement incentive.
I guess I'm gonna have to. Mr. Ward has a
I do. Let me find it here.
resolution or whatever to read.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Thank you.
This is, on this retirement thing, it's, there's gonna be, we'll vote on what was read tonight, and then, there'll have to be some more. I can't really come up with a word, so I'm just gonna say haggling about the details. And
The motion I have here is the town shall provide health insurance benefits under Maine Municipal Health Employees Health Trust Plan at 85% of the core plan level or any other level below the core plan for the period of 30 years, 36 months, following the effective date of separation from employment with the town to eligible employees and their spouse who take the one-time retirement incentive offered by the town. Employees shall contribute 15% of the cost of the insurance premiums for either the core plan or the benefit plan below the core plan. To the extent that it is available under the plan, employees may elect to purchase a plan higher than the core level, with the employee to be solely responsible for the additional premium cost. The town shall provide an HRA to the eligible employees at the same rate offered to the non-union employees for the period of 3 years, as long as this benefit is offered by the town. She's gonna need that, I'm sure.
I need you read the motion, I need a second.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I got nothing left in that regard. There's been plenty of discussion amongst the parties
Yeah, I
associated
think
with
so.
that, but all my questions have been answered, so I'm comfortable to extend this.
Show of hands? You get something, Chris?
Does anybody over on that end of the room have
Yeah.
anything?
Yeah,
Public.
I'd like
Anything
to
that you
hear
want
from
us,
them.
anything, yeah.
From either chief or Dan Michelle? Sorry, I should have been speaking right into the microphone. Again, before they vote on any of this, is there any sort of discussion, any more discussion, anything you want to say about it, anything you need to add, anything that...
Where are you at with it?
Basically, anything else,
From the public.
yeah, anything else in this policy will be discussed with them and the town manager and the attorneys.
And how do you feel about it?
Apparently, there's more discussion to come from what I'm
Yes,
hearing you say.
yes. All set, Dan? Okay. Okay, all in favor?
All those opposed, 6-0, order passed.
Next item, Twyla.
Under other business, town manager's report.
Just want to remind you that next Thursday, the 25th, we have the audit, the joint meeting with the school committee for the audit review. And I just got the final audit very late this afternoon, so I'll be getting a copy of that out to you so that you have time to review it before the 25th, in case you have any questions. That's all I have.
Is it at normal time, 7?
5:30
No, 5:30, because we want to be out for the planning board.
this time.
Yes. We'll get an agenda out. That's all I have.
I get questioned on that quite a bit.
Be the representative, I bet you do.
Huh, yeah. Yeah, when somebody comes up to my garage and says, "Don't do that again."
It's pretty specific at that point. Yeah, I get that.
So, next item?
Yeah, next item, Twila.
All right. Department head reports, Police Department.
Well, thank you, and thank you for that earlier action. And forgive me, I'm only running on one aide tonight. The other aide is back at the repair shop, so.
I'll
thank
talk
you.
into the mic,
I
Dave.
appreciate that. You have the report, and I'm sure in front of you. There's no need, I'm not going to read it verbatim. It's just a clear indication that numbers are still on the rise in our community. Calls for service had a 4.53% increase in the month of January. I went through the burglaries and some of the other incidents, and you could see there was a pretty good increase in a number of them. Third paragraph, we were very fortunate to be able to solve some burglaries in January. And one of the interesting things there, and you've heard me give the same message time and time again, that we learn that these burglaries, their intent is to either find drugs or pharmaceutical drugs or money to buy drugs. That's always the intent. That was the intent of these subjects and these burglaries as well. The total calls for service increase for 2015, I think, is a significant number for you to digest there, 19.58%. And again, as I explained somewhat a number of months ago, some of that is also because we have improved upon our documentation to show the I don't remember the term now in that study, unobligated time. And some of it's not that there's additional work taking place. It's just what I've since created is that the officers will document the work that they were doing. And this has increased some of this as well, but you can see by just the second paragraph that business in our field is increasing as well. But we have addressed the unobligated time piece. There's more to do down the road, I'm not going to deny that, but we're always working to improve, and that's where we're going. But the long story short of it is there is a significant increase in the stats in 2015 over 14, and I'd be curious what Tideview's recommendation was with those numbers if they'd had them. Again, as I usually do, time and time again, I talk about past staffing. We've gone from 16 to 15 to 14 to 13, and again, the bottom paragraph, first page, highlights that topic again. You've seen a number of reports from mine. I understand the budget issues going on in town. Believe me, I do. And but there are some areas that sometimes we need to take a little closer look at before we take some of the cutting actions in personnel. The comm center also experienced an increase this past month, almost a carbon copy of the police department's. And for the calendar year, for 2015, the comm center experienced a almost 14.5% increase in calls for service. Majority of that was, again, generated by the Lisbon Police Department, not so much the other agencies that we serve. Animal control, he had a slight decrease in January compared to January, but if you look at the full year report, calendar year report, he increased, or the ACO function increased 24.6% over 2014. That's a pretty strong number, especially where this last year was the highest number that we've experienced in the 11 years that we've been doing this, working with Sabattis. About 11 years ago is when Lisbon and Sabattis got together to work together for ACO. And we have 11 years of statistics for both communities, and this past year was the highest Lisbon had experienced. So don't ask me why. I don't know why. I don't know if more people are buying cats, dogs, rats, mice, squirrels, whatever they're doing. No idea. But also keep in mind that he does not just respond to domestic animals. There's many, many calls that wardens refer over to the local humane officer. And that's how some of these numbers are coming up as well, because wardens just they're not out there. There's not enough of them. So it's just the way it is. We get some of their work as well. That's a wrap for January. Any questions? All set?
Yeah, you're gonna have one more police academy?
We're not doing the, well, our plan right now is that there will be a Citizens Police Academy in the winter of 2017, because we were going every other year. We started to go every other year. Our participation is better when we do it every other year. So that's what we targeted right now for 2017.
Okay.
All right? Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
I was thinking of moving that. Isn't that funny? You should hit
That's
it.
what, 3 times tonight?
Every time. I'm sorry. I apologize for that. Every time I reach in my pocket, that lamp, I forget that lamp's there. Good evening. Mine won't be as long as the police chief's. Basically, January for us is our catch up on all our required trainings, including the harassment, operations, and violence in the workplace type topics. Generally operations and revisiting basically how we operate and making sure members remember that and they stay in line with that. We had 30 calls for service for January. Last year's total calls for the end of January were 28. So we were 2 calls ahead of last year just this month. As you saw with last month's yearly, basically up, or last month's numbers, we finished the year about 100 calls higher than we did the year before. Pretty much due to the EMS calls. Doing the first responder calls now has definitely brought our calls up more. So not a bad thing. It is tasking the members a little bit more. Tone's going off a lot more frequently for EMS. So we agreed to do that, and it's not working against us now, so that, you know, it'll be better in the future as we progress that service along. So building the budget right now, that's our biggest project as of right now. We're also planning for the banquet, so you guys will be getting your invitations for the banquet. Biggest thing for the budget this year is we're looking at an SCBA compressor, which is a major cost, but we're ahead on our equipment pretty well, that we're going to be able to kind of fit that into the budget. We think pretty well into the budget itself, and without a big impact. So like I said, the members are working diligently on calls and trainings. Very positive. They all have positive attitudes, whether it's 4 in the morning or whether it's 10 o'clock at night or it's 7 o'clock on a Sunday morning. They all are having good attitudes, are working hard, and I'm proud of what we've become, and I'm honored to work with those individuals, because they do a lot for this community that kind of goes unsung lots of times. I thank them as much as I can. And our contracts for the refurbishment for Engine 1 and Truck 6, we're still waiting for notification on what truck is going to go in. It should be coming anytime. So once we hear that, I'll forward that to you guys, and we'll get that truck ready to go to Appleton, Wisconsin, so for the refurb. So that's it in a nutshell.
Any questions?
I just got a quick one. So when you get the notification, the truck goes out, I know you probably, I was at that meeting when you talked about the refurbs, but I just can't remember what's the backup? How do we cover that truck that's away?
That'll be, that'll let our mutual aid companies know that if it's the ladder truck,
Yeah.
that one's gonna be a major one. That one, our surrounding communities will know. We've talked to Durham. Durham has a ladder truck now.
Okay.
But the bridge repair also causes a problem there. So Topsom has been, depending on where we're at, where the call is at, it'll dictate which first ladder truck will be. The guys are actually, the members, I can't say guys, we do have females. The members have been practicing diligently on ground ladder tactics, seeing that if we don't need the ladder truck per se for like a chimney fire, they'll be doing ground ladders and working off ground ladders for a little bit. If we need a ladder truck, we're gonna call for a ladder truck, but
Sure, but you have a,
we
you
have ways.
you have a stopgap while you're waiting for the truck to get in place if absolutely necessary.
Correct.
Perfect, thank you.
And it's the same, you cover mutual aid for other communities
Right,
as
they're
well.
also aware that we're not gonna be able to cover.
Is that anywhere in your call statistics as well, too, when you put that report together?
As far as where the.
Mutual
as
aid.
Mutual aid, I can put that in there.
Might maybe just
Yeah.
fill out other duties that you're actually doing, because the fact is that I'm sure that there are calls associated with that in your monthly as well.
Actually, we've had months where our mutual aid calls were more than what our calls.
I would expect, that's
for the
just the
idea.
number of towns that are actually impacted, right?
That'd be a great number to see, so I'm glad you brought
I can
that up.
break those down. I can break them down as far as calls for service is what the major ones were. I'll give you the top 5 for the month.
Yep.
Category-wise.
Just
I can do that so that.
gives a
Last
bigger
year,
idea.
the ladder truck was in Lewiston most of the,
And that
Quite
was
a
2
while.
years ago,
2 years
wasn't it?
ago.
2 years ago.
Well,
Yeah. 42
it
hours.
was there enough last year, too, so yeah, exactly. It's never-ending day, I'm sure.
It was a long 3 weeks.
On your budget for your SBA compressor, give me a ballpark on that, or do you have any idea on that?
Numbers are coming in right now, on the low 20s. So it's not huge money.
Yeah.
But it's big enough
On
money.
the 10-year life asset type?
No, that's a 20. That could
Is
be a
it?
22.
Okay.
Yeah. So long term, that's really good. That's kind of, we just upgraded all of our SCBA's 3 years ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. Anyway.
It all blends.
It all blends. The compressor was supposed to be part of that.
Okay.
But what happened there, the way it was written, we basically got it handed to us going, well, no, it says it'll be compliable too. And what they ended up doing is put a jockey pump on what we have established now, which is working, but isn't the best.
Right.
So it's time we address that before it finally overheats and explodes or does whatever. It's not that it's gonna do that.
Right,
It's
right.
Thank you.
been running fine for the last 4 years. But when it's running, it sounds like it's gonna do that, but it's just the idea of it. It's not the best thing that could be.
Right. Right.
There's better out
Just
there.
planning for the future.
Right.
Plan is to budget for it this year so that we can get it in and then take care of it. That's what I'm,
Correct.
okay, good.
Correct.
How long do the vehicles out of service?
They're gonna be, each
Target.
one, it's written in the contract, and I believe it wasn't supposed to go over 60 days or 6 each or something like that. I'd have to check back.
No, it's
to
fine.
know
It's
exactly.
fine.
I thought it was like 6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah. There was an actual day count that we had in there that they were
So
compliant with it.
target date somewhere in the June timeframe to
Right,
be
so
all
it wasn't-
completed.
There's a joke going around the fire department when the tanker actually got done, or when 7 got done. When's it gonna come in? It was supposed to be in for May, so that ended up being like August. So it was, the joke
May-ish.
is it May.
May-ish.
It may.
Right.
May get here, it may not, so, but these 2 pieces of apparatus are a lot, there's importance, and it's written in the contract, so.
Perfect.
Okay,
That's it.
Awesome.
next item, Paul.
Department head written reports for your review.
Everybody all right with them?
Trying to remember what it was. Twyla already answered that. That was it. No, I'm good.
Good? Next item, 12.
Audience participation and response for new items.
Anybody? Okay. Next item, Twyla.
Under appointments, Order 2016-42, Conservation Commission. One-member term expiring June 30th, 2018.
On page 123 of your packet.
So we're looking to fill each of those terms.
They got Carol Curtis, she's got here as a reappointment. So all of them are reappointments then, or?
They're
I don't
currently
sure what-
serving, we just don't know which term to place them in. So we thought we'd bring
Okay.
it to the council to determine which one's going to expire and what time frame. These are currently the people on the Conservation Commission serving. We do have a couple of dates.
Okay, so it's the first 5 that we need to do.
Are you sure, Twyla, that them are on the, I know Carol Curtis is and I know Dick Netto is.
Yes, Carol Curtis was appointed, and then his term would have been up, and his new term, if you were reappointing him,
Right.
he would, his term would fall within the 2018 expiration. So you would want to pick the one-member term for
Yes,
June
yep.
2018 for Carol.
The other ones I do know were on the Trails Committee, which was
That's
combined.
right, and we were combining them, so now we need to put them into slots that give them their expiration
They've
dates.
been contacted to know they're gonna be on a Conservation Committee?
Mark sent this email, and he said Conservation Commission members, and this is what he has, so I would imagine, because
Okay, so they,
Twyla went through all this with them,
Okay.
so I don't think it'll be a surprise.
okay, that's,
He gave us the list,
Yep.
and he's been meeting, so.
yeah, I know. Okay,
So we definitely would pick probably Carol for the first appointment to expire in 2018, and then you can move on to your 17 and 16, et cetera.
let me see.
I'm not sure why this was put upon us.
Right.
You would think they would be put upon the people in that committee, or,
That's why we're bringing it to you, though, because that committee was going to be consolidated and combined with the trails, and it never officially took place. So this is our official notice to the council to make it take place now. And so Carol Curtis's term actually on the Conservation Commission, when he started out, he was on there. We appointed him in 2012, and it expired in 2015. But because there was some question on what you were going to do for your organization, until you really repealed the Trails Committee tonight, we wouldn't have known which one of these people would fit into the conservation piece. Does that make sense?
not at
No.
all.
I,
Anyway, who wants to,
So now the 6/30/16 folks, they would go on as 6/30/19 anyways, so the fact is it's kind of a formality.
We wanted to make sure that your expirations were
Staggered.
rotating and staggered.
We just need to assign the
Just don't
5 that
know.
are there with terms associated on here.
Yep.
The way I'm reading this.
Are
Yeah.
these guys new? Or, like, when did they?
They're so
consolidated.
far back, and they were appointed to the trails, though, Charlotte and Ralph and Noyes and Joe.
Right, that's
and
what I'm
Trish.
saying.
So the
When they
trails you
were-
just decided to repeal, and so now we're gonna take
I
those
would-
members.
How about this
Right,
foolish
that's what my
idea? Do it
question is.
alphabetically.
oh, wait a minute, because Charlotte Farnham and Ralph Bard are, couple.
Well,
Should go
So
together with,
They should go together?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
So
think
they-
it would be easier in the household.
Do we poll either one of them to see if they agree?
my
So
question,
Charlotte- 2017.
when they were
Okay.
on the trails, when was their term supposed to expire? Or when were they appointed? That would
That
be,
was that was a long time ago, and it
Yeah.
wasn't with any expirations, because it was more like an ad hoc at the time.
well, what
when
I'm
it
saying
started.
is in order to tell who should be 2016, who should be 2017, you would go according to when they were appointed. The first one that was appointed out of the group, the second one, it'd be easier to figure out term expirations based on that, I would think.
Be a hot.
I have no
no-
information, we're
Well,
all
that's what I'm
sitting here
saying,
looking at-
like-
We're all sitting here looking at some
Yeah,
people we know,
the
and
fir-
some people
the
we
f-
don't know, and.
Ralph and Charlotte 16, Noyce and Joe 17, Trish 18, and be done with it.
There you go.
Make a motion.
Second it.
All in
Get all that,
favor?
Twyla?
I actually did.
How fast?
That's because you're good. That's a 6
Believe
zero.
that was-
6-0.
that was-
What
Order
the heck?
passed.
Yeah, that's
My head is
Uh,
spinning with how quickly
that's
that
what I-
went. Yeah.
So 42, 43, and 44 are all done.
I think at that point we all realized what it was. Arbitrarily.
Next,
Not
Twyla.
a big deal.
Swore should go by fast.
Order 2016-45 Civil Constable. We have an application from Ace Security.
What's the role?
for
Just to
Francis.
give me some backdrop. What is?
Civil constable?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead. Chuckle
Twyla.
at me.
Chuck that out there for him.
Anyone?
They're different from our constables, but there's a state statute that requires civil constables to be bonded, and the council has in the past always required them to have an insurance policy as well. But this is an employee of Ace Security. In order to serve residents in the town of Lisbon, they need to be appointed as civil constable. So if you're gonna serve a divorce decree or whatever, you have to be appointed to do those civil services. So they're not hired by the town of Lisbon, though. And actually, Chief Brooks could help answer all of those questions much easier
They
than
just
I.
need to be appointed by the council.
Okay.
Unless you're looking at Dave talking into the microphone, he might not be able to hear us. So this guy right here,
Chief,
Francis.
come on up here.
We don't need him right here. Civil constable, Francis.
Yeah.
Yay or nay?
Give us an outline on a constable.
Yeah.
Do you believe in him?
This is, the clerk hit it on the head, this is for civil process.
Correct.
And this is a private company,
Ace Security.
yeah, and they do the same civil process work that the Sheriff's Department does in their civil division. They compete with the Sheriff's Department. Again, it's totally civil, keep us out of it. I know that the town manager has talked about working down the road on having the officers start doing civil for town business. But this isn't town business that we're talking about tonight. This is when lawyers call and say, you know, I need to
Serve,
get papers served and things
subpoenas.
like that.
Okay.
That's not us.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chief.
I need a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Need
I'll
a
second.
All in favor?
Order passed, 6-0. All opposed.
Okay, next item, Twyla.
Order 2016-46, a resignation of Planning Board regular member, Richard Long.
They have to be done independently. Can we resign?
They gotta be done.
Do they?
That would be better independently in this situation.
Make the motion.
I'm gonna,
I got it.
I second it.
all in favor?
6-0, passed.
Next item, Twyla.
2016-47, the resignation of Planning Board
Hey, make the motion.
associate member,
I second
Scott
it.
Hall.
All in favor?
You know, you're in a very particular situation right now. Basically, and I've seen this not go the way.
Oh, no. That's,
Yeah, this is
I
your
make the
opportunity.
motion
You
right
run.
here.
Yeah.
Okay, next item, Twyla.
To appoint Planning Board regular member Scott Hall.
I'm gonna make the motion.
Oh, see, there you go.
I'll second it.
Okay.
All in favor?
Order passed, 6-0.
Welcome to the big leagues, kid.
He does a very good job.
Can't get away now.
Next item, Twyla.
Council Communications.
Really, I don't have anything today.
I said enough.
I'm going back to the PCL thing again. I just want to say that it was a fantastic event. Every year I've seen that grow down at MTM for the father-daughter dance. They do a fantastic job, great time, and it's just, they do a wonderful job, and I think they should be recognized for it. So thank you for that, PCL.
Next item, Twyla.
Roger, nothing about the sleigh ride?
Huh? I didn't go. It was so cold, I didn't even know it was done. It was all done and passed. I'm sorry.
Advertised it all.
I know it.
For 30 seconds on Channel 6 News.
Yeah. It was so, you know, I had the kids too. I mean, but it was so cold. I didn't even go out of the house Sunday.
They were always there.
I know. I didn't know it was there. It was just,
It looked like they had a good time.
yeah, they had a lot of people. Yeah. Next item, Twyla.
Executive session, order 2016-49, to go into executive session per 1 MRSA, section 4056F, discussion of confidential records. The other session, I understand, is not necessary, correct?
Right.
Yeah, the 1650.
No vote afterwards, right?
Is there gonna be a
Nothing.
vote after?
Yes, there will be.
Yeah,
There
I
was
thought
vote.
that she said there
There
was
should
gonna be
be.
a vote.
Well, I'm
I'll make
assuming
the
there will
motion.
be.
Thank you.
Okay.
Second?
Second.
Those in favor? Order passed 6-0. Stand.
We're in here, right?
You want to be in here? Okay. We'll turn the microphones off.
I take,
It is 8:50.
yeah, same.
Come on, anything good, anything good, anything good, anything
Which one aren't we doing? 50?
Yeah, because you are part of it.
2016 50?
Your
No?
input would be good, I think.
No, the personal matter is
Your
Hey,
input
Fern.
would be good.
itself under the carpet or made itself disappear, I'm not sure exactly yet.
Hey, Fern.
Alan. Yes, sir.
Hey, am I? Is there something I was supposed to sign? Yeah, right there.
There's several things you're supposed to sign on it.
Oh, I got a lot of them signed.
Dale, these are all 4s. I think you have 4s on all of them, is that what you're telling me? 4.
Cameras and recorders are on.
I know, right?
9:26. And I also needed to let you know, Mr. Chairman, that we still have one more position on the Conservation Commission to reappoint, which is Noyes Lawrence to 2018. We should have had that on the agenda as 2 instead of 1 for terms expiring in 2018.
Yeah.
Do you want to make that motion?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'll second it.
All right, and all those in favor?
Want me to drive by and tell them on the way home?
Yeah, you can.
That'll go well, wouldn't it?
All right, thank you. 6-0 passed.
We're all set. You can decide.
All right, would you like me to take a stab at this next motion?
Only hurts for a minute. Excuse me.
Okay. The next motion should be to approve a loan to Frosty's Donuts LLC and Nels and Shelby Omdal, that's how you pronounce it, in the amount of $100,000 with an interest rate of 5% with a term of 5 years, and to authorize the town attorney to prepare the closing documents.
Absolutely.
Did I
You
miss
stated,
anything?
you stated the location?
Oh, at 700 Lisbon Street.
Yes, I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Order passed 6-0.
Next item, Giant.
Order 2016-51 to adjourn.
I need a motion.
I'll make it.
I need a second.
That man right there's got it.
Brunel?
All in favor? We're
Order
outta here.
passed 6-0. Stand adjourned.
I didn't sign that one.
I don't think we're supposed to sign
We
that
didn't
one.
go, we didn't do a personnel, we took
Personal
that
matter and
off.
it was off, Larry.
We took that off.
Whatever.
She'll tell us.
Excuse me.
We'll get another one next week.
Yes.